Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Right. So Carlisle, everyone. Yeah, as I said, the three founders of SNASK, we were all studying in university. Petter was 1 year above us, and me and Magnus was a year underneath him. I think you guys, if you can, yeah, did you mute? Yeah, you did. Um, yeah, so we were basically students, and in the second year, I can still hear myself. Did you guys mute as well? No, probably. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so we were students. We were in second year. Petter was in third year. He became the art director of IKEA, but he knew he was always going to join SNASK. So when we graduated a year later, he quit his job and joined SNASK. So that's basically the very short story of SNASK from the times in Carlisle. Um, First word I want to say is fuck. And there's a reason because of this, and it's because the world is going to hell at the moment. We were a generation that was going to learn from history and make sure it never repeated itself. Yet here we stand. Every country seems to have their own idiot, right wing, extreme right wing. Um, and I think that the responsibility hasn't disappeared. It's just that we are many generations now that need to make sure that history does not repeat itself. Um, One thing that we did was this handmade poster a few years back when this design magazine asked us if we wanted to do a poster about politics, and we did this one. Just because you're extremely right doesn't mean you're correct, which of course is about the right wing, extreme right wing winds that were blowing through Europe. Um, but there is hope, of course. We have the Iran protests, which is far more than just cutting off your hair. People are actually chaining themselves, and then they get raped and killed in prison, and it's insane what's happening. And it's our responsibility to give a damn, stay engaged, and do something about it, showing responsibility, owning up, and sharing, do whatever we can. Um, Coming up to SNASK, as I told you, we started out straight from university, straight from Cumbria Institute of the Arts. We heard from some people in the industry told us you need 10 years of experience in order to start your own agency, and we thought, well, whose experience is it we're going to get? So yeah, and we figured, well, probably old white men's experience. They created all hierarchies, structures, etc. from way back, and they created methods and theories before the internet even existed. And we felt like, why not make all the mistakes ourselves and try and find our way, a pink way, the SNASK way of doing things. And so we did. So if we would have listened to them, we would have been 6 years instead of 16 years today. So today I'm going to talk about what we are, our design approach, branding through visuals, finding your doppelgangers, don't forget to have fun, develop an intern culture, how to get rich in 5 minutes, stay for that one, George, even though you're rich, steal a good quote, use your Wi-Fi password as inspiration, end on a positive note, but first a word from Obama.
Please join me in inviting President Barack Obama and Kehinde Wiley to unveil the portrait.
SNASK is a very professional design, branding, and film agency. They don't play around when it comes to work. They do fast and accurate deliveries. They're creative, and all their stuff is tight. I highly recommend them. SNASK is great. And again, we're not spying on your calls. Woo!
Yep. So we're gonna have some ultimate wisdoms during this presentation, very humbly. Praise can come from unexpected ways. This one from Fiverr.com. So if you go to Fiverr.com, you can get Barack Obama to tell you, say whatever you want. So what are we? So one thing you need to learn as students is Agencies, you can read their about us text and you can determine how fun they are or how creative they are. If they write, we are really fun and creative, they're probably the opposite. And most about us texts are more boring than watching paint dry. So I'm going to read our about us text, and it's not to impress clients, it's written to show who we are. We are your future romance, a creative agency of misfit geniuses conquering the world through fine-looking design and real emotions. To worry about what people think of us is a waste of time. As long as we stay true to ourselves, we're living our dream. We see love as the only way forward, and we will never sell out or abandon our values. Standing up for our opinions and beliefs is the only way we know. We walk with our back straight on the path to pursuing our truth. With one foot in front of the other, we seek to challenge conservative frameworks. We are doctors of disturbance, wizards of disruption, and spokesmen of disobedience. We assume this responsibility to stay engaged, give a damn, and strive for empathy. It's a short word for this assumption of responsibility: love. So that was our about us text. Very much is all about how like to live a meaningful life for us at the same time as being an agency. This is the core team of SNASK. So it's me, brand director, my partner Eric, who's the creative director, Cam and David, who are account directors, Isabel and Lisa, who are production managers, Minna, who's the design director, and Emily and Carla, who are designers. So we are a design, branding, and film agency. That means we do a lot of visual identities, graphic design, packaging. We also do a lot of brand strategy. I will go into that later. And we also do a lot of film and photography and animation, but everything revolves around graphic design, basically. If you ask my mom and dad, they think I do computers, which is fine. It's that level I can communicate with them about what I do without them thinking I do advertisement or something else, television. This is a very important slide. This is a slide to make you feel like, holy shit, they're so professional. They have all these clients, blah, blah, blah. We don't work with any of these anymore, but it's a very good slide to have in the beginning of a presentation. So not if, but when you're going to give a presentation on your own, you can email me and I can send you this slide so you can include it in the first slide of your presentation. Have a painting, a big painting that is made out of oil, painted by the great Ulrika, a painter here in Sweden, an artist. And we asked her first to paint a copy of James Matheson's Solemn Witch Trials painting from 1752. And then we had her for the last 12 years. She's been painting in members of SNASK in this painting. So it's becoming very expensive. But you can see me up on the left being the judge. You can see Magnus, who also co-founded SNASK and went to Cumbria, standing pointing in the, the judge outfit in the middle of the painting as well. This is our tattoo flag, the three-eyed tiger. Very important to have one of those if you are a tattoo design studio. This is Reagan. She's not from around here, standing in our pink bar. We also have these fun things around the office, except having a pink bar and a tattoo studio. We also have, for example, a doorbell, but we felt it to be a bit like almost like we were slaves. So when clients came and visited us, they pressed this button, and we would come running and opening the door for them. So instead, we reconnected it, so that when you press it, you only get a compliment. So this is how it can sound.
You're the best thing that happened today. You know what? You're the best thing that happened today. My God, those shoes look great on you.
So since we can't hear from the inside, normally when we find out that someone is standing there, they've been showered with compliments. And of course, they will be in a very good mood when you open the door, which is great. We also have a police mirror, which means that we see out, but people on the outside only see themselves. So basically, this is from the outside. So here's Matej, he can only see himself. If you get seasick during this film, it's because I'm such a good director of photography. This is where we sit and work. Our meeting room and pink kitchen. That's the painting. Down there is where the interns live. And here's Matej, so we can of course see him very good. So sometimes when we're in meetings, it's very awkward because people kind of stand there a lot. Yep, there he goes. Also, when they were remaking the street, we stole one of the street stones. We sent it to a tombstone artist, and we put in our one of our manifesto points: "If you love someone, let it show." And this is a very good way of seeing hair and the risks that you might have. So on the far right and the far left, we have good hairs. They're not in any risk, and in the middle, you can see that there's bigger risk in the middle there. So it's good to watch out for. This is Max. He's a sound genius. He was the one who made the doorbell for us. And we also asked him, can you make anything? And he said yes. And then we said, can you make our 8 toilet rolls sing in different tunes if when you pull them? And he said, of course. Yep. And the other bathroom that we have is called Wipe. We had a big vote within SNASK, and a Will Ferrell museum became the winner. So we called it Will's Institute of Private Exhibitions. And there's a show.
Hello and welcome to your personal tour of the shittiest Will Ferrell museum in the world.
Yeah, so it's a long, what do you say, tour. So if you ever come here, which you're very more than welcome to do, you can come and visit the museum by sitting down in the bathroom. This is our book. You should definitely buy it and read it, although it's sold out. I think it's coming out in a 3rd edition in maybe half a year or something like that. Not very politically correct, mind you. We were pretty young when we wrote it, but it's called Make Enemies and Gain Fans, and it's one of our mottos when it comes to life as well as branding. And it means basically that you need to have opinions, and you need to stand up for your opinions and beliefs. And if you do that as a private person or as a company and brand, you will get enemies. But you should not be afraid of it, because it's people you don't want as fans or friends anyway. But you will also get real fans, basically fans that want to follow you, share your values. They want to engage, so they don't just scroll past your post. They stop, they like, they tag their friends, they comment, they save your post, etc. Basically engagement, which is something that companies pay a lot for, but all they need to do is basically care about something and show it. You don't have to buy this one. It's our bike. So during the last 10 years, it's been sold. We sold 2 bikes to ourselves. Yeah, it costs a bit too much, 800 euros, but you get a book for free when you buy it. So ultimate wisdom is make your studio space a fun and inspiring place to be. Sounds very logical to you probably, but most companies believe strongly that if we put people in a very ugly, gray cubicle environment, they will be very effective and very inspired and happy to work here. So look out for that when you apply for jobs. This is our own clothing line. So we have lots of different clothes. So this is the Make Enemies shirt. We have the Pink Lies knitted shirt where our About Us text is in the neckline. I don't think a lot of agencies would put their About Us text in the neckline of a shirt. It's because it sucks normally, as I said before. This is, yeah, we have a lot of different things. We did a normcore photo shoot. So we had, instead of like building a normcore photo set, we just called the closest hotel, asked if they had in creative conference environments, and they said they had. So we went there, and this room they creatively called the blue room, which was perfect because it was very ugly, exactly what we looked for. This one they called the red room, and so forth and so forth. Um, so we made a lot of those, and we also made a collab with the bag company Loki. They sell bags at the Guggenheim or the MoMA or different airports, etc. And the problem was we launched it at the beginning of the pandemic, so it was very secret because it's a very bad timing. But here's the collection of bags that we did. So it was loads of different tiger, bear, snake collection, as well as big secrets, with which was basically transparent bags. This was the film that we did. Yep. So ultimate wisdom is when you need to be secret, timing is your best friend. So yeah, don't launch a new what do you say, anything. You shouldn't launch anything at the beginning of a pandemic, unless you want to like be unsuccessful like us. So our design approach is very interesting. It's always been handmade and bold for the last 15, 16 years. And when we came to university at Cumbria Institute of the Arts, they told us the first year, you're not allowed to use a computer for the first year. And we thought, how the hell are we going to be able to design anything then? And then, of course, after 1 year, we realized that the computer is just a tool and you shouldn't see it as anything else. And you should probably spend more time away from it because you need to be in front of it anyway to do probably research and as well as deliver everything in the end. So what we did was we started sketching by hand, then we scanned it into the computer. We started designing in Illustrator, for example, and once we designed it, we brought it outside of the computer again, built it up for real, either like a photography or like a model or whatever, and then we brought it back into the computer again and delivered it. And it's been our basically our DNA for the last 15 years. One of our first clients, Malmö Festival, actually, this was straight out of university. We came home to Sweden and we managed to land this job with one of the biggest city festivals in Scandinavia called Malmö Festival. And these both pictures was in our first office. That was very not very inspiring. But yeah, everything is built up by hand from foam cord or different materials and basically photographed at one point. This was a year after when we did everything in a second-hand theme. So everything you can see is built up by recycled materials that we found. And the photography on the left-hand side was a big shelf that we built, and the parrot was afraid of the balloon and was also very passive aggressive. So the person standing inside the door was really afraid of the parrot and so forth. There was a complicated photo to take with a lot of drama involved. But it's interesting when you build things for real, like for example the logo on the festival, people actually interact with it, so it becomes something that is much more interesting. Also, there's signs here saying don't climb here, but these little brats, of course, they can't even read, which was amazing though, because you kind of want people to climb on your installations anyway. So it just goes to say that when you make things by hand for real, people will notice and people will have easier way to, what do you say, connect with it. Year after that was a paper theme, so we built everything out of paper. So basically sitting in our basement, folding, gluing, ripping. And basically, yeah, so this was that year. And after that, they turned 30 years, and we were like, let's make something huge. So we decided to turn the whole identity and poster into an area. So this is us. We're going up 30 meters in the air and photographed this poster that was 13 meters long and 9 meters wide. And it says Malmö Festival 30 years free for all update, and then kisses and hugs in Swedish. So that's me up there. There's a transparent roof on this one, which I don't understand why, because if you're afraid of heights, it's not very nice. It was blowing up there, so the whole thing was blowing, which is even harder. And yeah, this is me kerning. I made you proud, Rhiannon. So this is manual kerning basically, and the way it had to be done was basically first roughly kern it by screaming to our designer to hockey tackle all the letters because they were so heavy to move around until they were roughly right, and then we had to go down and measure and kern it this way in order to make sure it was perfect. And this is the final poster on the left hand side as it was. So this one was would say advertised 3 months before the actual festival. So we had to go up down there, photograph everything 30 meters up, and then take everything away again, put it in a warehouse, and 3 months later go to the festival and put it out. And it became its own area, as you can see here, where all these kids were climbing around on it. We also worked with a lot of other brands. So this is Axe Food, a Swedish food company, where we created a lot of typography out of food, and also their concept food for 2030 that they have to be, of course, ecological, sustainable, etc. We have a lot of handmade signs come together. Love is all we need. George will probably know this one. We build a lot of sets for our films. So this is one film that we do, and of course, we build a lot of things by hand still. This was an identity for a Swedish gallery that was about craft. So we used the different materials that was in the exhibition, and then we made typography from that. This is for a Monkey campaign, the female fashion brand. They're always standing on the young woman's side, where we built a lot of things by paper. This was for the Swedish Home Crafting Association, where we used an old lady who knitted in a special way that experts can tell, oh, this is knitted in this way. I really can't, but it was a nice touch. This was a cake for Printing Friends. We made a magazine for a printer for a long while, always with P and F, where the front cover would always have new typographical versions of P and F. Next one was travel. So we basically cut out the letters P and F from styrofoam, and then we dressed it in many different exotic and weird things to make it look more exotic, and that became the cover of that issue for traveling. Worked with a big candy company from Finland, where we made a lot of typography in everything from clay to wood to textile, and then we hanged it up in fish thread, of course, and then we photographed it, and this is how it became. And you don't want it to become too perfect, because it will then look like you did it in 3D, which is horrible. So you always want to leave fish threads, you want to leave things a bit rough, etc., etc., because it gives that edge of imperfection. Is always better than perfection. This was a campaign we did for Target in the US, big, of course, retail chain. And the campaign was about Spanish words that's hard to translate to English. So posadas is basically a recipe for a punch. So this was all ingredients, and sugar is the main ingredient. So we made the typography out of sugar. Here's buen provecho, which basically means have a nice meal. Talking about imperfection, we first made sure the whole scene was perfect. We took a photo and got it approved by the client, and then we started fucking things up, like cutting up the word in the bottom, throwing out flour all over, etc., etc. And then we were fucking it up piece by piece by piece by piece. And you realize that it's where perfection is not the nicest one. It's always going to be a little bit more interesting when you start fucking things up. This was madrugar, which is basically means going up early and making breakfast, eating breakfast together. So we put this cornflakes by cornflakes. So if you sneezed, you basically got fired. And this was also fucked up. We started to crush and destroy it more and more, as you can see, to make it a little bit more interesting. This was for Washington Post magazine, where we made different typography from different materials. So, I mean, all of these that I showed you, use the wood shop. If you have one still, use paper, use materials, because typography becomes so much more fun when you make it and build it for real. Going into branding, because branding is important. Even though you think that you only do design, you have to base it on something, which is very important. And when you base design on something, you base it on research, analysis, insights, etc. The things that your tutors try and teach you and try and get you to do, but you feel like maybe like I did, that, oh, why do I have to do that? I just want to do something pretty. But that's a problem, that you should not do something that is just pretty. You have to have a meaning. And this is basically behind, what's behind. So branding is important. So even if you study design, as I said, you need to use this in order to design something real, and then not just something that is pretty to look at, connected to a company, connected to the company's vision, ambitions, etc., etc. You have to do your research. So first of all, branding is not data. Don't let anyone fool you. Data is everything that I say from this very second and backwards in time is what is measurable. So it's basically history. Everything that I say from this very second and forward is non-measurable. It's the future, and no one can tell the future for sure. So it's basically, yeah, non-measurable. So when you're looking at data, you're looking at what already happened instead of using vision and innovation and trying to see something that has not already happened, which is always a risk, but much more interesting. So we can change history for data because that's what it is, and future for vision. And then you might think, but we can just ask people what they want. No, you can't, because people only see what's in front of them and try to piece two things together, and that's what they think they want. While in order to not do that, you need to trust in expertise in order to create something new. So Henry Ford, if he asked people what they want, they would have said a faster horse, not a car. Steve Jobs never asked us if we wanted an iPhone. If he would have asked us what kind of phone we wanted, we would have done like many other consumers. We would have taken maybe a BlackBerry and a flip phone and said, well, maybe you want a BlackBerry that is a flip phone. So instead, they created an iPhone, and we never knew we wanted an iPhone. We never knew we needed an iPhone. So if they would have asked us, no one would ever say that, of course. Sometimes data can be interesting, of course, to look at, but then you need to know what is the data we're looking at, what is the analysis, and what's the actions. So, for example, during the Second World War, the fighter jets came back from the war, and they started looking at putting out data points of the bullet holes, and they drew the conclusion that this is where we need to reinforce the planes. Until someone came and said, well, you're looking at the wrong data, and you're analyzing therefore incorrectly, and that therefore your actions is incorrectly of reinforcing these planes in these places, because the planes that didn't come back is the data you need to look at, and they were shot down in the engines, the cockpit, and the rear. So it just goes to say that, yeah, data is not always right. You need to be very critical when you're looking at it. So having said that, do you think Apple should ask us what iPhone 21 Pro should look like? No. No, they should not, because we have no clue, and we have even less clue about what iPhone 31 Pro should look like. So they should just trust their own vision and innovation and expertise. So if you ask people constantly what they want, it will result in a negative spiral where nothing ever is allowed to provoke. No new ideas will be allowed unless people instantly like them. So you have algorithms, you have AI, the big trend at the moment, where people basically think they can assign by just swiping until they find something interesting, or they write 2 words and this AI designs it. But what it really does when you sit and swipe and you finally find something you like and you say, oh, I made this, is that the AI learns what you don't like and it will never show it to you again. So it means that you are stuck in an echo chamber where nothing new will ever happen. No new art, no music, no new books, no new culture, nothing new, nothing that can provoke you, nothing that you are uncomfortable with, or nothing that you don't really like. Um, so if you take the example of this, if you know Spotify, they use for this, you can see that people only listen actively on for 1.5 minutes on songs before they switch to something else, another app. And they want you to stay on the app for as long as possible. But yeah, and you can also see that maybe songs that kick within 5 seconds is more popular. So does that mean that musicians would never get paid, of course, by Spotify, which is fucking shit? But should they make songs that is 1.5 minutes long and kick within 5 seconds? No, because we would all go and fucking hang ourselves if that happened. That would be horrible. So the other side of it, not looking from today and backwards, data and what already happened, looking forward in time, you have another dead man, Freddie Mercury. So he wrote a song and made a song that was more than almost 6 minutes long, had maybe 3 different genres in it, and national radio told him that no one is going to like this, but it doesn't matter because we still, this is what we're going to do, and this is the song that everyone's going to like. The rest is history. So you want to be Freddie Mercury, you don't want to be a 1.5 minute song. So going into the brand engine, Bynett and Field came up with this brand engine where they basically saw that performance marketing, basically rational messages, makes the sales go up. So when you put in money in an ad, the sales go up, the dotted line, and then it goes down to 0 again once you stop it. While if you use emotional priming, it starts walking like a staircase in the brand marketing, and that's basically how you build a brand. And if you combine these, the same budget for performance marketing starts walking in a staircase of brand marketing, and the sales go up, of course. They call this a 60-40 split. So 60% of your budget should be on brand building, 40% on rational sales messages. Today, this is rather 95-5 because this was 9 years ago. Times go fast. So most people are not ready to buy your product when they see an ad. And secondly, people are not persuaded by ads as soon as they see them. Actually, the biggest call to action button is skip ad. So if you guys, after my talk, sit and watch YouTube together and skip ad comes up and you don't click it, something is wrong. So what you need to do is you need to build brands that are top of mind when a consumer is in need of your product or service. So it's before they actually feel that they need to buy something. That's when you should be top of mind. So this means you need to speak to the heart, not the head. So less focus on product service, more brand, less rational sales messages, and more emotions. So it's very easy. It's not about if, it's about when someone copies a successful product or service. But what you can't copy is a very good brand. So this is you guys. Jen said are almost 30% of the world's population, and they soon stand for 40% of all consumption in the world. And when you ask Jen said about brands, they say like this: brands are out there talking about what they do. I'm over here wondering why I should care. So another brand called Oatly, they do oat milk. They looked like this before. So on one single side, they had more than 10 rational messages, and it didn't work. So they just decided to not do that, and instead they started to build a brand that people loved and could stand behind and share values with. And then he launched their new brand, Wow No Cow. It's like milk but made for humans, ditch milk, war on milk, etc. Very, very value-based communication is basically, and now the rest is history. They are super big now. Going into lifestyle branding, there's an old BMW example that still is valid. It's that people don't buy a BMW because of the rational messages like four-wheel drive, German engineering, connected drive. If they did, if that was true, they might as well buy an Audi, Mercedes, or Volkswagen. People buy a BMW because they want to live a lifestyle of a person driving a BMW. They wouldn't drive their BMW to the golf course even though they have a bad handicap. And they want to talk about business with someone there even though they don't know anything about business. Mostly men, these guys. But it's the same one with everyone. A handbag for 3,000 quid could have the same material and look the same as another handbag for 300 quid, but you want that logo on it and you want to live the lifestyle of it. It's the same with a Bang & Olufsen speaker, etc., etc. Also, consensus equals vanilla, and this is because if you put 10 people in a room and you tell them to get ice cream and they have to agree on a flavor, they will always pick chocolate or vanilla. And it's because a group of people will never agree on what's cool or unique. So it's because people agree on what's easy. So consensus is just another way of saying average. So it's very important when you do design work and branding work that you trust expertise instead. Finally, branding as a metaphor. So this is true. If marketing is asking someone out on a date, branding is the reason they say yes. So this is a very good way to understand the difference between marketing and branding. A lot of companies will spend a lot of money on marketing, trying to get attention, and while their branding is shit. So there's no reason for the consumer to say yes to a date. Tinder, for example. So marketing on Tinder would be writing a very interesting, charming message, sending it out to 1,000 people, and when the people see, oh, it's a funny message, they will go into the profile, basically the branding. Then there's a photo of you with like two other people, so you don't know who's who. One is with your sunglasses on, one you hold a fish or whatever. It's just shitty, and you have a bad bio or whatever. Then you're not gonna get a date, no matter how good message you sent them. Another good metaphor is if your company basically is an island, don't start building the bridge to get people over if there's nothing there for them to see. So you have to start building a castle over there, and once it's done, you can build the bridge and get people over. So that's a good thing to think about. When it comes to brands as a person, it's a very good thing and very easy to understand as a metaphor. So let's say that a brand and a person comes into a bar and you never met this person before. Then what is the values this person have? What's the personality, the passion, the drive, the engagement, basically? Who is this person? That's the brand platform. Very, very good to remember when you graduate, because a lot of you will work with brands. So the personality is super important. Secondly, what does this person say and how does this person say it? Also super important, because you can say things in many, many different ways using many, many different words, and it can give you a totally different feeling. So you have to go hand in hand with the personality. So now you have brand platform, brand voice. Now you can choose the outfit and the looks of the person. You can't choose an outfit for a person you never met, or tell we're gonna have this haircut on this person who I don't even know who it is. So naturally, you need to know the brand platform, brand voice, the personality and voice in order to decide how it's going to look. So the brand visual identity is basically a translation of the personality and the voice. Once you have those three, you have an interesting brand. Now you can go and ask for a date. Now you can actually ask someone out. Now you can get the attention because there's something behind it that is interesting. Branding through visuals. We do a lot of building visual worlds, and we're making them come to life to communicate emotional values. So instead of making a film with a slogan, it was only about one little thing. We create a world where that everything communicates an emotion. So this is, for example, us sketching, and this is what we're selling to the client. So the client in this case is Klarna, and we're like, okay, this is how it's going to look, and are we going to photograph this for real? We're gonna build a whole pool. So this girl is gonna sit in a pool. She's gonna swivel her feet in the water, and we're thinking that it could be like a never-ending animation loop, basically. And this is how it turns out. So I think that we are not very good at sketches, but we are good at selling. If we can sell this and deliver this. So this was in every different kind of format, and it's the feeling of smooth that we want to give. And this one particular one was for fashion and influencers in retail. So this is how it was built up. Of course, when you see it from another angle, it's less what do you say, extravagant. We built this pool, and this is in camera. So it's of course with all the right lighting. This was another one which was for home interior. So basically a guy sitting in his own living room fishing because there's a lot of water there. So this one was another one that gives the feeling. And this one was the feeling of smooth of a girl rollerblading on a treadmill. This is how that one looks. Also, of course, very smooth to rollerblade on a treadmill. And these were also made into GIFs, etc., etc. Also, here's another one that became a film, but it's basically we felt all the materials. Everything you see is built up for real. And the sofa looks really comfy, but it's not. It's actually super stiff and hard. This girl is standing in her own pinball machine. So if you see the big staircase on the right and the different furniture, you can see that it's actually, she's standing inside it, almost like a meta thing. Also became a 30-second film. Here's a girl barbecuing bags in order to get the right pattern on them, of course. And here's a film that just gives this feeling as well. So of course we wanted this machine at SNASK, but we weren't allowed to take it. The client really wanted it. But this is good for you guys. I remember Tony always told us that we should spend more time in the wood shop. And yeah, it really is something else when you see something come to life that you building with your own hands. It's something else. Here's another film for Klarna that gives this feeling of something, of smooth, but the text says something else. Yep. And so the ultimate wisdom is designing by hand works in the corporate world. So why not start at university already? Do it, guys. Visit the wood shop. Start doing things by hand. It's worth it. So this one chapter is called Find Your Doppelgangers. So basically, me and Eric have been around, and it turns out that we look like some people. So one time we were in Paris, and this garbage man drove past with a truck, and he screamed "Steve" at me, "Steve!" And I was like, "Who's this Steve?" And then another time we were in Mexico, and someone came past Eric and asked him if he was David, and we had no clue who they were talking about, and it's apparently these two idiots. Yeah, the music is actually awful, but yeah. But you can understand that people might think that me and Stevie look the same, even though we don't. It's a little bit racist, but we have long hair and mustache, and we're both Asian, so that's okay. But what's actually interesting is that Eric actually looks a lot like David Guetta. So here's one image of that, and then I put together a slide where every second image is of David and every second is of Eric. And yeah, even Eric gets dizzy when he looks at this. That's how much they look like each other. So basically, they grew out their hair. They weren't even friends when we were friends, and we already had long hair. And they started growing out their hair. They became friends, and they started touring on their Aoki Goeta tour. And of course, they're more famous than us. So this is in South by Southwest in Austin, where Steve Aoki played or played whatever he did. He throws cakes at people. So that's me on the right hand side. You can see me in the armpit of Miley Cyrus' little sister, because he threw a cake at me at this big concert. And you can see him actually up on the left hand corner. That's him faking that he's DJing, but he doesn't. He runs around throwing cakes. So one time we were in New York, in Manhattan, his hometown, and we walked on the streets, and this lady stopped us, and she was like, "Wait, aren't you? Aren't you?" And we were like, "Okay, here we go, Steve Aoki." And then she was like, "Aren't you SNASK?" And we were like, "Yes, 1 in a million that Steve Aoki walks in on Manhattan, his own hometown, and someone might stop him and think it's Freddie from SNASK. That would be amazing." Ultimate wisdom is just because you don't know about it doesn't mean you don't have a shitty superstar DJ doppelganger. Don't forget to have fun. It's very important, of course, and something you should never what do you say, forget, because when you're not students anymore, you will be in the real work life and you need to do briefs for real clients, etc. So when you're students, don't forget to have fun. It's very important. Another advice if you start your own agency or work somewhere is develop an intern culture. So we have, for example, something we call the intern journal, that every intern at SNASK have to finish and write their own journal. And the day they leave, they hand it in, and then we open it and we read about their experience at SNASK, which is always very fun. Another thing that we do at SNASK is we force interns to get a tattoo. So here's just a few of the tattoos that we've been having. And on the left hand side, for example, you see Jocelyn. She was from Brighton, I think. She got a chair tattooed. So this is her when she wanted us to basically draw tattoos, and that she would pick one. Okay, go on.
What a welcome. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay.
Oh, this is a
Yeah.
Oh, it's a chair.
It's a chair.
so this is her getting tattooed.
Oh my god.
It's gonna be fun.
Freaking out.
Yep. We also fool interns to go abroad. So this one is Fabrizio. He was our art director for a long time, and he started out as an intern. But if you go back in time, in November back then, we knew that we were going to Costa Rica to do a lecture at the conference, and they had 3 plane tickets, and Magnus didn't want to go. So we're like, what are we going to do with the 3rd plane ticket? And we're like, why don't we fool the intern who starts in February, Fabrizio from Italy, and then somehow we fool him to go with us to Costa Rica. And so we did. We managed to get hold of his passport. So they got to book the flights, and come January, February when he started, we told him like, yeah, every year we go out to Eric's country house in order, it's as a tradition. And we also drive past the airport to pick up a secret design legend, and then we go out to Eric's country house to have a week of design talk, whatever. And we told him that it's going to be your idol, Gemma O'Brien from Australia, coming. So he was super happy. So we first, of course, had to tell him to bring his passport because we were going to get him to the airport, of course, and fly away. So we told him, because we might go out with a boat on international waters, so you need to bring a passport. You don't need to bring warm clothes, but please bring swim shorts for the sauna. Also make a sign for this year's special guest, Gemma O'Brien. It should read, Gemma O'Brien, life is life. Why life is life? It's just because it's stupid. And finally, don't put too much time on the sign. Fabrizio did not listen, so he spent all night making a huge sign, believing that we were picking up Gemma O'Brien at the airport. This is at the airport when we found a spot where it looks like people come out. Hello, Fabrizio.
Hey, Gemma.
How are you?
I'm fine. We're waiting for Gemma O'Brien.
Do you know about her?
Yeah, she's one of the best calligrapher and type for something, and she's really, really good.
All right.
And yeah, have fun.
Cool. This is going to be great. So once we filmed this, we told him, "Oh no, we got a text from Gemma, and she's not coming." And he was like, "What?" "Yeah, she had to go to Costa Rica." He was like, "Oh, okay, that's so sad. Well, okay, let's go to the country house." And we said, "No, no, now we can't go to the country house. We need to go to Costa Rica now." And he was like, "What?" And then it took him a long time to understand that he was now going to Costa Rica.
You understand? You are going to Costa Rica
No.
exactly now.
I have to realize, but what I think. Well, I'm thinking what I have in my bag that I can take. No, no. Well, I have a jacket. I don't need a jacket in Costa Rica.
So when we landed, this Costa Rican agency had actually made clothes for Fabrizio so that he didn't have to wear his winter outfit.
It's so cool.
So the logo.
The logo, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And then when we went up on stage to do the talk and presentation, we played Opus Life is Life, the song, brought up Fabrizio, and he got to give the sign to Gemma O'Brien on stage. He brought it all the way from Sweden. The ultimate wisdom is you don't have to bring interns abroad, but branding them with a tattoo sounds reasonable, at least to us. Still a good quote. So our friend from London, Mark Shaler, once said this, and we think it's brilliant, so we always steal it. Disruption is normal now. Change is fucking inevitable. How it was done yesterday is not how it should be done today. Nothing stays the same, and neither should you. The problem comes when change happens and you don't. Super, super true for companies, for brands. The time goes really fast. Change is the new status quo. You need to really be ready to constantly have that in your organization, but also in your private life. You need to develop yourself. You need to change. The problem comes when change happens and you don't. You sit there, your partner developed a relationship and you didn't, and you're single all of a sudden. As students, you are the future also, so make sure that you're the change that is coming instead of being a copy of what the industry looks like today or what the industry wants. Don't be that. Instead, make sure that you are the change that is coming. That was always the purpose of SNASK. It was never to copy what was already there. It was never to be what the agencies that we looked at were. It was always to do something else that we felt like this is what we want to do. This is something new. This is on our terms. And that's also maybe one reason why we didn't want experience before. Use your Wi-Fi password as inspiration. So we knew we always wanted to make a film about SNASK, but we didn't have the framework. We didn't know like what it's going to really be about. So once we realized that 16 years ago, someone chose badminton as our Wi-Fi password, and no one knew why. So we decided to make a film about badminton. So of course we spent way too much time on finding outfits and making us look pretty. And then we asked our musicians, Darwood, to make a single, like a song that was called Badminton. And then basically we made a music video about SNASK playing badminton against an evil chicken, and the evil chicken represents all the conservative white old men out there. This is the film.
We used to be best friends, but ever since I saw the lines and felt the smell of the locker rooms here, I've been away every single night, working on my agility and heroic stamina. Badminton, badminton, badminton. 60 gold feathers on a pork bag. You got nothing, babe. On my monster legal wood shop, my sophisticated racket moves, and my thoroughly prepared motor coordination. Yes. Badminton, badminton, we used to be best friends.
Yep, so that was a film about SNASK. And the FIFA of the badminton world, BVF, put this online, which we were super happy about, of course. And loads of women all over the world got furious about. No, of course they didn't. It was all the men. A lot of men all over the world got really, really humiliated by this and angry. So Casper from probably Denmark, that was horrible. Benoit, probably French. Epic, no, just ridiculous. They put it on YouTube. Rick Deckard, probably American. That was stupid as fuck. Alexander, yeah, good job, PR department. You know how to fix your image. Please never do something like this again. So Alexander probably thinks it's also his image that needs fixing. I would say it's probably right. Little Man 787. What the fuck was this? At least get people who can play badminton. Contributing further to our sport being seen as a joke. Good job, BVF. Also probably here, Little Man 787 maybe see himself as a joke, but he has insights, so he knows that he's not in the top 500 of little men. So he's Little Man 787, which of course, yeah, it's good to have self-insight at least. Ultimate wisdom is sometimes caring about small-minded people is simply something you can overlook completely. Finally, I always end on a positive note. We got a brief from Adidas and Sneakers and Stuff where they made a sneaker that was super, super soft. And we were like, what are we going to do with this? And then we thought, well, kittens is always a good idea. So we just had a lot of kittens play around with the shoes and film them. Yep. So ultimate wisdom: when nothing else works, use kittens. And we come to the Q&A, guys. So thank you so much. I'm gonna see if I can get back to you guys.